rumor that have been going on about my relationship status. Let me make it clear to you all. I'm not gay.
Rick Dixon goes to the guest bedroom. He's tired. He's been drinking. He's ready to get some sleep. He says he lays down. And at some point, Tyler Perry comes into his room, slips into the bed behind him, and start rubbing the inside of his thigh.
Tyler Perry, the billionaire, the Hollywood mogul, the man who built a studio bigger than Warner Brothers and carved out his own lane when Hollywood doors stayed closed. For years, we've been told his story was one of struggle, success, and giving back. But now, that story is starting to crack, because while the world was celebrating his rise, a few voices were warning us to pay closer attention. Katt Williams, Dr. Umar Johnson, both called out Tyler Perry by name. Both were dismissed as bitter, loud, or just looking for attention.
Him and Tyler Perry can't play a man to save their life. They play good women.
One day, Tyler Perry comes into his trailer, grabs him violently by the neck, grabs his...
But what if they were telling the truth all along? What if the rumors, the quiet whispers, and the uncomfortable questions weren't just noise, but the beginning of something much bigger? Now, with bombshell lawsuits, resurfaced interviews, and fans finally connecting the dots, Tyler Perry's carefully built empire is facing its biggest test yet. What did Katt and Umar see that the rest of us ignored?
Billionaire. He's a billionaire. Why are you hanging around? He says Tyler Perry coerced him, Art.
And why is Perry's silence starting to sound a whole lot louder? Let's get into it.
If you a gay person and you in there, put some other gay people on.
Tyler Perry coerced him, Art. Coerced him into accepting the exploitation because Tyler Perry promised him his own show.
Back in 2010, before social media was this loud, before blogs were digging this deep, the Boondocks dropped an episode that would change everything. It was called Pause, and it wasn't just a joke, it was a warning. In the episode, a character named Winston Jerome, a church-loving playwright who built his empire dressing as an older woman, was introduced. Sound familiar? It should, because Winston Jerome was a not-so-subtle shot at Tyler Perry.
And so I put on a dress and a wig, and Jesus was...
The episode didn't hold back. It mocked his storytelling style, his religious branding, and even suggested that behind all the faith talk was a man using his power to manipulate men in secret. At one point, Jerome even asked straight up, "Can I please just have some A?" The message was loud. This wasn't just about the plays or the money, it was about what happened behind the scenes. Reportedly, Tyler Perry was furious. Word spread that Perry pressured networks to pull the episode and made it clear he didn't appreciate being the punchline, but fans couldn't unsee it. The character, the storylines, the hidden signals, they all lined up a little too perfectly. With long-standing whispers about Perry's real life at the time, people brushed it off as just another Boondocks controversy. But now, more than a decade later, it feels like Aaron Magruder, creator of the Boondocks, was ahead of his time, because the same things the episode hinted at, they're the same things being talked about in lawsuits and exposés today. And just when people started to revisit that cartoon, something else exploded. An actor came forward with his own story, one that forced everyone to start paying attention. In December, everything changed. Actor Christian Keys went live on Instagram, and what he shared wasn't just another Hollywood story. It was a quiet bomb that shook the industry. For nearly an hour, Christian hinted at years of abuse by a powerful man in entertainment. Someone he once called a mentor, someone he had admired. He never said the man's name, but honestly, he didn't have to.
To the guy, at the same time, this person was sexually seeing me for years, claiming, that he had multiple young black men on the payroll, and they just...
The clues were everywhere. Christian talked about a man who bragged about hiring young black men, who was celebrated by the world, but who behind the scenes was allegedly abusing his power in the worst way. Fans didn't need to guess long. Almost instantly, fingers pointed at Tyler Perry. What made it even more chilling was what Christian said next. He revealed that his family and his lawyer had all the receipts. Several family members and my attorney have the proof. If anything happens to me, that information will come out. He made it clear this wasn't gossip. This was serious. But When Tyler Perry finally responded, he didn't address Christian keys at
that
all.
have been going on about my relationship status, let me make it clear to you all. I'm not gay. For those of you spreading rumor Jalla Kelly because you find out I'm gay, that's a big lie.
But here's the thing, Christian's story was never about sexuality. It was about power, control, and abuse. And Tyler's silence on those specific allegations only raised more questions. It wasn't just some random moment. Christian's story dropped while Diddy's court case was exposing the dark side of the entertainment world. Forced silence, manipulation. It all started to feel connected, like the same playbook being used by different power players. And now, the whispers that Katt Williams and Dr. Umar had been screaming for years, suddenly, they weren't so easy to ignore anymore. But the deeper you look, the clearer it becomes this isn't just about one man. It's about a much bigger system, one that's been carefully hidden in plain sight. The more you dig, the harder it is to believe this is just about Tyler Perry. Because when you zoom out, the same disturbing pattern shows up all over Hollywood. The Diddy trial cracked things wide open. For the first time in black and white, the world saw how non-disclosure agreements, manipulation, and forced silence were used to protect powerful men. But long before the courtrooms, Katt Williams and Dr. Umar Johnson were warning us about something bigger. They argued that Hollywood doesn't just reward talent, it rewards submission. The industry lifts up black entertainers who play by the rules. And what are those rules? According to them, it's about who's willing to wear the dress, who's willing to play the fool, who's willing to quietly follow the system. Katt Williams asked the question nobody wanted to answer: why would a billionaire with all that power and influence keep coming back to the same roll of fat suit, a wig, and a joke? Dr. Umar took it even further. He said Hollywood handpicks black men who are willing to be softened, tamed, and made less threatening to mainstream audiences. He believed it wasn't just about getting laughs, it was about shaping the image of black masculinity. Even Dave Chappelle called it out.
This happened to me. I'm doing a movie with Martin.
Yeah.
The movie's going good. So I walk in the trailer. I'm like, man, this must be the wrong trailer because there's a dress in here.
He famously questioned why so many successful black male comedians have been asked to wear dresses on screen. Martin Lawrence, Eddie Murphy, and yes, Kevin Hart. At one point, Kevin Hart said he would never wear a dress to be funny. He said he had boundaries. But later, he surprised everyone when he wore one on Saturday Night Live. There was also that strange moment on the Kelly Clarkson show where Kevin joked about doing low-level work for money. When Kelly hinted that the people offering the money should come forward, Kevin quickly interrupted her, put his finger to his lips, and said, "It's an open dialogue. We can talk about anything," a small moment barely noticeable to some. But to others, it looked like a subtle warning to be quiet. These moments add up. The jokes, the roles, the silences, they start to tell a story that isn't so funny anymore. And through all of it, Katt and Umar kept asking, why is this the version of black men that Hollywood loves to promote? And the answer? It might be because the real version, the one that doesn't play along, makes people uncomfortable. But it's not just the actors. Even Tyler Perry's stories are under fire because what he's been putting on screen. That raises a whole new set of questions when it comes to playing the game. Kevin Hart's journey tells us a lot. At one point, Kevin made it crystal clear he had boundaries. He famously said, "I don't need to wear a dress to be funny." That one statement made people believe he would be different. That maybe, just maybe, Kevin Hart wouldn't fold to the same Hollywood pressures. But then he surprised everyone. On Saturday Night Live, Kevin Hart walked out in a dress, playing a stereotypical, over-the-top character. It was a moment that shocked his fans and even caught Dave Chappelle's attention. It didn't stop there. There was another moment, one that felt small, but said a lot. On the Kelly Clarkson show, they were joking about taking low-level jobs for money. Kelly joked, the people offering that money need to step up and identify themselves. Kevin immediately cut in, almost to quickly saying, "It's an open dialogue. We can talk about anything." But the way he said it with a nervous laugh and his finger pressed to his lips didn't feel like just a joke. It felt like a message, a subtle signal, almost like he was saying, "Careful. We don't talk about that on air, and that's What people are starting to notice now. It's not just what's being said, it's what's not being said. It's the sudden changes in the conversation, the quick subject switches, the awkward pauses Katt Williams has always been blunt about. He believes there are unspoken rules in Hollywood, and the people who follow them get rewarded. The ones who refuse, they get pushed out. The dress isn't just a costume, it's a checkpoint. And once you've crossed it, the industry keeps its arms wide open. So when Kevin Hart, one of the biggest comedians in the world, finally put one on, it made people wonder, is anyone really immune to the pressure? And what happens to those who say no? But while the conversation about black men in dresses was heating up, Tyler Perry's own storytelling started facing serious backlash because what he was putting on screen was raising just as many eyebrows as what he was wearing. For years, Tyler Perry's movies have dominated theaters and sparked heated debates. From Diary of a Mad Black Woman to Acrimony, his films have always put black women at the center of the story. But lately, people have been asking at what cost? Critics say Perry's movies push one painful message over and over again, that black women have to suffer, that they have to endure betrayal, abuse, and humiliation just to find happiness. On social media, fans have gone back and forth. Some say Perry is just telling real stories about real struggles, but others argue that his work actually reinforces the very stereotypes that Hollywood has used against black women for decades. There's another issue too. Perry's characters often win by following strict respectability politics, being polite, being proper, playing by society's old school rules, as if the only way to succeed is to fit into a box that's already been set by someone else. And while Perry's supporters praise him for creating jobs and opportunities for black actors, his critics aren't letting go of the deeper question: why does his work seem to always come at the expense of black women's dignity? The conversation gets even more complicated when you look at Perry's personal success. Yes, he broke barriers. Yes, he built his own studio. Yes, he became a billionaire on his own terms, but his critics argue that he didn't break the Hollywood system. He learned how to play by its rules better than anyone else. And those rules, they still reward the same old images: the suffering black woman, the cross-dressing black man, the softened, less threatening black figure. Even some of the black comedians who once defended Perry are now asking, why do we keep seeing the same roles, the same pain, the same jokes? Dave Chappelle raised this point years ago. Martin Lawrence, Eddie Murphy, Kevin Hart, they've all played these roles. And Tyler Perry, he made an empire out of it. It's no accident. It's a pattern. And now, with new lawsuits surfacing and old interviews resurfacing, the pattern is getting harder to ignore, because this isn't just about art, it's about the choices black entertainers are forced to make just to survive. But it gets worse, because behind the cameras, the lawsuits are now pulling back the curtain on things that are much darker than what we've seen on screen. Everything hit a breaking point when actor Derek Dixon stepped forward. His lawsuit didn't just rattle Hollywood, it cracked the image Tyler Perry had carefully built for decades. Dixon filed a $260 million lawsuit against Perry, accusing him of sexual assault, manipulation, and using his power to silence him. According to the lawsuit, it all started in November 2019 when Perry gave Dixon a small role on the show Ruthless. At first, it seemed like a dream opportunity, but just 2 months later, Dixon says that dream became a nightmare. In January 2020, Dixon alleges that Perry sexually assaulted him at his own home. Soon after, Perry offered him a bigger role on another show, The Oval. But here's where it gets dark. When Dixon read the script, he noticed something strange. His character, Dale, didn't have a clear ending. Dixon claims Perry told him directly, if you don't flirt back or play along, your character won't make it. And just like that, by the end of season 1, Dale was gone, shot 4 times in the chest. Dixon says this wasn't just a story choice. It was a warning, a way to punish him for not playing along. The pattern didn't stop there. In October 2020, during a cast trip to the Bahamas, Dixon claims Perry groped him again. By December, Dixon says he was mentally breaking down. He couldn't sleep. He had constant stomach pain. He was later diagnosed with PTSD. In June 2021, Perry invited him back to discuss a pilot Dixon had written, a project Perry once said he might produce. But according to Dixon, that meeting led to another assault, and while Perry's team quickly denied the claims, they didn't address the specific timeline or incidents in detail. Dixon's lawsuit laid out everything: the abuse, the manipulation, the retaliation, the mental toll, the power imbalance. Supporters of Perry argue that he broke barriers and changed the game. But critics say stories like Dixon's prove that Perry didn't break the system, he mastered it. And now, as old interviews from Katt Williams and Dr. Umar Johnson go viral again, fans are starting to wonder, were they right all along? Did they expose the blueprint, but no one wanted to believe it? Because it's one thing to hear rumors. It's another to see it spelled out in court documents. And Tyler Perry's silence, it's starting to sound louder than ever. But before we wrap this up, there's still one more thing you need to think about. Something the world might have missed while everyone was busy laughing through all the rumors, the interviews, the lawsuits, and the viral clips. People have asked a lot of questions about Tyler Perry. Is he guilty? Is he innocent? Did Katt Williams and Dr. Umar really predict this? Was Christian Keys telling the truth? But there's one question almost nobody is asking. Why was it so easy to ignore all of this until now? Why did it take a massive lawsuit for people to start paying attention to the whispers that had been around for years? When the Boondocks dropped that episode in 2010, it wasn't subtle. When Katt Williams called out the industry's quiet rules, he didn't hold back. When Dr. Umar warned about Hollywood's pattern, he was practically yelling, but somehow it was easier for people to laugh, to dismiss it as just another crazy conspiracy, because let's be honest, it's more comfortable to believe that Tyler Perry is just the man in the dress, the one who makes funny, over-the-top movies, the billionaire who opened doors for Black actors. It's a much harder truth to face that maybe he's not just playing a character. Maybe the industry lifted him up because he fit perfectly into their system. And maybe that system was never really designed to protect people like Derek Dixon, Christian Keys, or the voices that get ignored. The question isn't just, did Tyler Perry do this? The question is, why did it take so long for anyone to listen? Why is it that the people who tell the uncomfortable truth are always labeled as angry, bitter, or crazy until their words can no longer be denied? Because now people are listening, people are looking, and Perry's silence, it's starting to feel like the loudest part of the story. So after all the headlines, the accusations, the lawsuits, and the resurfaced interviews, what's really going on? Is Tyler Perry just another Hollywood success story who's being unfairly dragged into the rumor mill? Or is this finally the moment when the truth starts catching up to him? For years, people brushed off Katt Williams, ignored Dr. Umar Johnson, and dismissed Christian Keys as just another actor trying to make noise. But now, the pieces are starting to fit. The patterns are no longer just whispers in the back of the room. They're loud, clear, and written into court documents. And Tyler Perry's silence, that's becoming the biggest red flag of all. Because sometimes, the loudest denial is the one that never comes. But hey, what do you think? Did Katt and Umar call this out years ago? Is the Hollywood system finally being exposed? Or is this just another case of the internet jumping to conclusions? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's get this conversation going. And if you made it this far, do me a favor, like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Trust me, we're just getting started. See you in the next video. Until then, goodbye.